And this chilling story happened to my friend, and she decided to share it to warn others. Her experience shows how unexpected events can turn a normal life into a nightmare, especially when you don't realize that someone is constantly watching you. Be cautious, as danger isn't always obvious at first. A few years have passed since this incident happened to me. I managed to move to a different city, find my future husband, and immerse myself in work. But since then, I developed one important habit: always locking my front door at night and checking it 3 times just to be sure. It might sound funny, but surprisingly, many people naively believe they are surrounded only by kind neighbors. My story proves otherwise. It all started one evening when I was awakened by a suspicious noise that seemed to come from somewhere nearby, as if someone accidentally bumped into a table or touched the doorframe. The sound was so clear that I almost jumped out of bed at that moment. It must have been the upstairs neighbors again. The neighbors loved to cause disturbances, especially at such a late hour when everyone was already asleep or at least lying in bed. I got up and headed to the bathroom, glancing down the hallway as I went. Nothing strange was noticed in the apartment. Everything was in its place. Nothing was lying on the floor. I quickly dismissed the idea that anyone could be inside my apartment. After all, I had lived here for years without a single incident. The neighbors were mostly friendly people, although there were exceptions. After briefly looking around and using the bathroom, I went back to bed and quickly fell asleep again. The next morning, I found my front door wide open, as if inviting anyone to come in and take whatever they wanted. Surprisingly, this didn't alarm me. I had noticed similar issues before. I glanced at my valuables and checked my handbag hanging on the rack. Everything was in place. There were no signs of an intruder. Cursing myself for being careless, I finished my morning routine and soon left for work. That entire week passed without any incidents. I went to my office in the city center, met with friends, or just stayed home. However, one incident turned everything upside down. It happened on a work day, around 11 p.m. I was the last one in the office, wrapping up some tasks. As I made my way to the metro, a strange feeling washed over me. It felt like someone was watching me. There was no one around except for a few occasional cars passing by, their headlights illuminating the darkened windows of nearby houses. The anxiety faded once I descended into the metro and saw security personnel. Soon, I was standing on the platform, waiting for the train. The station was mostly empty, with only 5 or 6 people standing far apart, like introverts forced to leave their homes and head to work. All except for one man, tall, wearing a black hoodie and jeans, with the hood pulled over his head. He stood about 10 meters away, staring blankly ahead. He boarded the same empty train car as me and sat in the farthest corner. I didn't pay much attention to him at first. I connected to the free Wi-Fi and started scrolling through my newsfeed. I can't remember how many stops had passed when I suddenly received a notification on my phone from a very suspicious account. No friends, no photos, just a profile picture of a white smiley face on a black background and a strange username in English that I couldn't remember. The message read, "Hi, how are you?" I assumed it was an old acquaintance trying to reconnect, so I replied, "Hi, do we know each other? You don't have any friends or photos, so I can't figure out who you are." The response I got sent a chill down my spine. I'd call myself a silent observer. I love watching people, especially beautiful ones like you. I tried to end the conversation politely, but the next message was even more disturbing. Why lie and say you're busy? Or that you have a boyfriend? Why all the dishonesty? Confused and creeped out, I was about to block the account when I received a new photo notification. It was a picture of me, sitting on the train, staring at my phone. My heart raced as I glanced in the direction where the tall man in the hoodie was sitting. He was now looking straight at me, no longer pretending to be asleep. His hood still concealed most of his face, but his gaze was predatory. Panic started to rise within me, but at that very moment, the train pulled into a station. The man suddenly stood up and headed for the doors. As soon as the train came to a stop, he quickly exited. But before leaving, he turned and waved at me, a sinister smile playing on his lips. I didn't exhale until the train pulled away and disappeared into the tunnel. That incident left me shaken to the core. I immediately deleted all my social media accounts and stopped using public transport. Instead, I opted for taxis, even though it was more expensive. It was a small price to pay to avoid crossing paths with a psychopath again. I didn't contact the police, since there were no further signs of stalking, and my work soon consumed all my energy. I thought I had left that dark episode behind me. But one night, as I returned from a late-night walk, I received a chilling message from an unknown number. "Hi, I decided to take a walk. And guess what? I saw you." Attached was a photo of me entering my apartment building. My heart pounded in my chest as memories of the metro incident flooded back. I jumped to the window and peered out into the courtyard, but there was no one suspicious in sight. My phone buzzed again. The message read, "Do you know the difference between a hunter and prey? The hunter wants to kill, and the prey tries to hide." My hands were trembling now. Whoever this was, they were watching me, taunting me. I felt utterly powerless. More messages followed, accompanied by increasingly horrifying photos of the inside of my apartment. Photos taken in the dark, with just a flash. One image showed the slightly ajar front door, light pouring in from the hallway. Another picture revealed the moment I had woken up in the night and gone to the bathroom. The man had been standing just meters away from me, hiding in the shadows, watching me the whole time. The last photo sent chills through my body. It was a picture of me, sound asleep in my bed. Even the flash hadn't woken me. I couldn't stay in the apartment anymore. Despair overwhelmed my mind, and I realized that the only way out was through the balcony. Looking around, I knew that the maniac could be somewhere nearby. There was no time to think about the consequences because every second of delay could mean coming face to face with him. My heart was pounding, and there was only one thought left in my head: survive. I rushed to the window and without hesitation, jumped out. The landing was hard and painful. The soft soil of the flower bed cushioned the fall, but I immediately felt a burning pain in my legs and arms. Something was wrong. I couldn't move, and my limbs refused to obey. I screamed for help, and luckily, a few people saw my desperate leap. One of the men ran to me, trying to help me stand, but we both quickly realized that my legs wouldn't hold me. Other passers-by called an ambulance, and I struggled to stay conscious from the pain. In the hospital, I lay with casts on my arms and legs, and although I was physically safe, the terror still hadn't left me. The broken bones were only part of the pain I felt. My mind kept replaying that moment when I realized he was so close to me, and I couldn't do anything to stop him. The fear hadn't disappeared, and even in the hospital room, I kept looking around, feeling like the threat was still there. Did I really save myself? I wondered. Though I was physically out of danger, the shadow of that stalker remained with me, haunting my thoughts and forcing me to relive the horror again and again.